4 times title holder.
Anywhere you go on the internet, you'll be able to find discourse and debate about who is the GOAT. The greatest of all time in a particular field or sport. Messi versus Ronaldo. Hamilton versus Schumacher. Scones versus scones. However, it's easy to come up with stats and figures for these arguments, and easier still to twist them to suit your particular narrative. Today, we're doing the opposite, and looking the other direction, using stats, maths, and some highly charged opinions to definitively find out who is the worst driver in NASCAR. I've narrowed it down to 3 potential candidates, each in their own category of worstness. I'll be looking at their statistics, results, and what you, the masses who tune in every week to watch cars go in funny circles, think of them. First up, we have Carl Long. Long made his debut in NASCAR in the 1998 Truck Series, and a year later began running in the Cup Series. Kind of. He failed to qualify for every race that season. This became a running theme for Carl throughout his career. Of 112 races entered, he failed to qualify 75 times, and withdrew from a further 11. The highest he ever qualified was 20th at Atlanta in 2005, but failed to match his best ever race finish, which was a 29th place finish at Charlotte in the fall of 2001. Long's on-track results earned him a certain reputation, but some of his real infamy comes from his team's exploits in 2009. During practice for the Sprint Showdown, Long's engine was found to be 0.17 cubic inches too large. Long was fined $200,000, penalized 200 owner and 200 driver points, suspended from 12 races, and then was later suspended from the Cup Series indefinitely after being unable to pay the hefty fine imposed on him. This would be the heaviest fine imposed by NASCAR until the legendary race-fixing fiasco that engulfed Michael Waltrip Racing in 2013. However, this was not the last the sport would see of Long. In 2017, he announced a return to the Cup Series had been agreed with NASCAR, fielding the number 66 at the Go Bowling 400 in Kansas, but subsequently having no sponsorship on the car after NASCAR rejected Long's submission to have marijuana vaping manufacturer Weedworks sponsor the ride. This would be the last big story the world would hear about Long, who has since faded into the background somewhat as an owner. But whatever you think of the former 1998 Domino's Pizza Manager of the Year, he's surely a worthy candidate for this ignominious list. Our next contender is a name many NASCAR fans will remember as the Cup Series Rookie of the Year 2010. I'm of course talking about Kevin Conway. The Virginia native shared the ROTY title over the years with names such as Chase Elliott, Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, and the Intimidator himself, Dale Earnhardt. These days, Kevin is nowhere near a NASCAR seat, last seen racing in the North American Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series in 2013. But back in the 2010 season, he was without a doubt NASCAR's Rookie of the Year, because there were no other candidates. Driving a middle-of-the-pack car for Front Row Motorsports, Conway only ever finished above 30th 3 times that season. His unremarkable driving style made no headlines, and you could be forgiven for not noticing Conway was racing at all. He earned a career best finish of 14th at Daytona in July, but that wasn't what anyone came to remember him for. Conway rarely was the camera's focus on track, and yet had the highest amount of appearances on network television outside of dedicated NASCAR broadcasts. This was down to appearing in his sponsors' TV spots, something not uncommon in the world of NASCAR.
I'm Ricky Bobby. If you don't chew Big Red, then you.
What really made Conway stand out from the pack was his particular sponsor, Extends, who were in the business of manufacturing and selling male enhancement pills, regarded by many as just a gigantic scam. Prior to the August race at Michigan, the company's logos were removed from the car, with Front Row Motorsports citing a lack of payment as the reason. But despite this reduction in weight, now the extra decals weren't weighing him down, Conway's pace did not improve. Switching to Robbie Gordon Motorsports of Bristol didn't help either, failing to even qualify for round 31 at Charlotte. And with a highest finish of 30th coming at the close in Homestead, Miami, Conway was on his way out. He ran 8 races at the subsequent year's championship, but failed to score a single point. This unglamorous statistic brought his NASCAR career to a close, and with his only subsequent appearances on our screens being on Shark Tank selling the Fousey Company's phone cases, Kevin Conway is a strong challenger for the not-so-coveted title of NASCAR's worst ever driver. Finally, we have a driver who is rapidly establishing themselves as one of the most commonly labelled by the fans as worst on the grid. Ty Gibbs is one of the fastest racers in the Xfinity Series, winning 9 races, and is all but confirmed to be replacing Kyle Busch in the Cup Series next year. but recent events have pushed Gibbs' less than stellar reputation to the fore. This week, Gibbs has been claiming headlines following the controversial finish to his battle with Brandon Jones in the final laps of the Xfinity Series race at Martinsville. With Joe Gibbs Racing in prime position to get both of their full-time drives into the championship round of 4, with Gibbs already secured in his spot, racing alongside teammate Brandon Jones, who needed a win to progress, Gibbs did the unexplicable.
One more time around! Jones gets tagged by the 54! Whoa!
Obviously, this went down real bad with the crowd in the stands and Gibbs' fellow drivers, with loud boos and strongly worded interviews flying around for the next 4 hours. But what made it even worse for Gibbs was what he said next.
You got up on top of the car, you heard the boos, and you were like, bring it on. How do you feel about all this, and what's inside of you on it,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I always go back to the same verse that, Jesus was hated first and among all the people. So, that's a part of it.
Now, I'm pretty sure Christ never spun one of his disciples going into the last lap of a playoff race, and the Last Supper wasn't an awkward silence following a visit to the infield care centre. And this has only served to worsen Gibbs' reputation as a one-man show. He's been hailed as a privileged rich kid due to his father owning his race team, with no regard or respect for his fellow drivers, wrecking an underfunded Ryan Sieg on lap 4 at Vegas, or getting into a fight with Sam Mayer at Martinsville, shows beyond a shadow of a doubt Gibbs has a win-at-all-costs attitude, something NASCAR fans love to hate. On top of all of this, his disregard for the safety of his competitors was shown on pit road in the Cup Series Texas playoff race, as Gibbs veered into Ty Dillon on pit road in an apparent retaliation for an earlier collision, almost sending Dillon into an official in a separate pit box. Gibbs had been filling in for Bubba Wallace in the 23, who himself was filling in for Kurt Busch in the 45 following his concussion. So for Gibbs to pull a stunt like that cemented the perception of him as a danger on the track. And in an era where driver safety is at the forefront of everyone's minds, it's not hard to see him as one of the worst blemishes on modern NASCAR's reputation, and thus a worthy holder of a spot on its list. If you enjoyed that video, remember to hit the subscribe button to see more of my latest content, or follow me over on Twitter @NeedForSpeeding. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.